Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to beg your ear about Lego, review those amazing bricks of plastic, and discuss what is new and up and coming around the Lego world. I'm your minifigure host, Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing today? Hopefully you are doing well. I am doing quite well. And we're talking about the last Indiana Jones set. It was just too much to fit into the last episode, so here we are. We are going to kick off into Temple of the Golden Idol and just go from there. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait to talk about this. This thing has so many different play features. It has so much detail to it. And while I probably still already have my favorite with the plane, this is a really cool set for display reasons and such, and we're going to talk about it once we get into it. And I've actually got another comparison for you to think about, maybe before you throw your coins at this thing. So let's kick it off with 77015. It is the Temple of the Golden Idol, has 1,545 pieces and retails for $150, 150 euros. This thing is just a hair under 10 cents per piece, which is, really, truly phenomenal for this size of a set. So that's going to tickle people where they need to be tickled, because it's important for some of you. I don't know why, but it is. So we do get a plethora of minifigs here. We get, I'm going to go with these names. Okay. Apologize for everything, but we get Indiana Jones, Tipo, or I think it's Tipo. We have Balak, and we have Jovitos Warrior. I think I said that right. I honestly think I said that right. So let's talk about the Jovitos Warrior. All right, Aruni. So this guy is a different skin tone than the rest of the characters that we have in this set. It's a nice kind of a medium nougat color. I really like this. It's a little bit of a darker than just a fleshy color, which is nice. It looks like he's got a nice little tan going on, which is phenomenal. Anyway, so this is your little warrior guy. He does have two faces. We'll talk about it in a moment. His hairpiece is not bad. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's the same as the other character we're going to talk about here in a moment. He comes with a bow, which, is fine. I don't like the Lego bows that much. There's something about them that just kind of turns me off. I just wish they would find a better way to be able to do them. I think it's time. So what you have here, he is wearing his little loincloth that he's got going on. He's got some printing across the front of his legs, which I'm assuming is supposed to be some sort of, warrior paint and such. Just above his loincloth where it is, you can see the guy's kind of ripped, he's a pretty strong little fella here. He's got this little necklace that is printed on here, which is actually nice. It almost looks like a bone necklace. I know. I don't believe it is. I don't think so. And then he's got this little pearl kind of roping that is going across his chest and across his back as well. So that's nicely done as well. With the kind of necklace around the back as well, the print. So nice little bit of detail there. His faces I love because they're painted up with that warrior paint. He's got some white that goes along his cheekbones and down alongside of his mouth. He's got an angry face and he's got a passive face. Nothing too wild there. Now we move on to Satipo, and Satipo, actually really like this minifig a lot. Just because he's got spiders crawling up on his back. He's got spiders on his back. Same hairpiece. That's kind of shorter styled hair. A lot of texture to it. It's really weird. Anyway, so in the front, he's got a really kind of a dirty, ripped up type shirt on that is going on here, which it appears to be the band, around the top of your shirt. It looks like, I think that is what is separated here. He's got a little jacket print that is on here. Pretty nice as well. He comes with a torch and a little, some kind of wooden grabber. Okay, that works. And he comes with two faces. He comes with a kind of like a shocked face, and then another one where he's terrified, like, what is going on? So I like it. Nice little minifig to be able to get there. Then we move on to Valak. This is a average. This guy looks like he should be working at some kind of safari land or some kind of zoo with his print here. Very much a deserty type color, a sand color here that they've got going on. And he's got his little revolver. And he's only got one face because he's got that special hat we talked about in the last set, that little safari hat. And he's got a print for his belt across the front and the back. And you can see the pockets of his shirt in the front and across the back. I believe it's supposed to be like a sweat stain, just because it is so darn hot. Then we move on to the final minifig before we get to the set. Indiana Jones. Here comes Indiana Jones. Same legs as before. The jacket is identical. And his whip and his little pouch that he's carrying here, his little sling, is identical as well. Where it is not identical is on the face. One side of the face. So one side he's got his little smirk, and the other side he's got cobwebs all over his face and a little black spider that is printed on the right side of his face, if it were to be your face, up around his temple area, crawling across, which is... Blah. Ugh. No, I'm good. I am good, dude. He comes with the same little hat and hair dual molded combination. Again, 2 in the set, which I just really don't understand. I really haven't, tried to understand, more than a, generic level, but I've never come across that with anything else. Why are there so many hat pieces? You get 2 of them. It just seems incredibly generous, to say the least. All right, so there are a lot of things to discuss with this set. A ton. An absolute ton of things to go through. This thing is built in 3 different sections. The first section that you build has the tumbling boulder that has an actual action feature to it. The entire set, all 3 builds, have something different and unique to offer. However, they do all 3 have some kind of moving piece to them. And actually the one has, technically 2. It almost kind of falls in between 2 different sections, but alas, let's go ahead and jump in. So starting from the left, the section that you build first, what you have is obviously your big rolling boulder that is coming down. That is actually a pretty simple build. I mean, you're building it 5 sides to it, and because it has a top and then the 4 sides, and they're all identical. It's absolutely identical. So you have that. We'll talk about the mechanism here in a little bit. But down in front here, you do get 2 2x3 tiles that have this little printed design on it, and it's really nice. You get them the whole way across, which is absolutely gorgeous to be able to get something like that and not have to, do a ton of stickers. You also have a 2x2 rounded brick with the grooves going down the side as your handle to be able to turn these functions. And on there you have a 2x2 tile with a skeleton type skull, which is kind of neat looking in the way that that is done as well. So let's move a little bit deeper into this build. Starting from the left of this section, you have this little archway that is covered with a bunch of greenery, some bigger leaves, and then the small little 3-pronged leaf piece. Well, not really pronged, but the little tiny leaves that attaches one stud to wherever you want to attach it. We have some nice little triangular tiles in here as well. You're getting more of these the textured bricks that are supposed to look like actual layered bricks. There's quite a number of them throughout the set. Not a ton, but just enough to give you some texturing. There is greenery all over. There's greenery on the inside, on the outside, on the top side, just everywhere. So a nice little bit of change of pace and stuff like that, which is always good. This section is actually built above the main plate section. It is jumpered into place, which is a nice little addition. So you can get that angled build, which is great. It's not just a squared off build. It's perfect in the way that that was done. You do have this little greenery piece. Usually we see these like somewhat in like a seaweed type thing with underground stuff. or not underground stuff, in the ocean, water, that kind of stuff. Sometimes you see it underground. This is hanging from the top there as well. This is at the edge of where the ball stops. Just to the right of that, we have a little bit of an elevated build. Same thing as we just talked about, greenery, texturing, stuff like that. There is a movable spider web that can go up and down depending on how you want to do it. I'm assuming it's supposed to be in the, horizontal position. There is a big old black spider on it. We do have some big black spiders that are on the bottom here. And we have some stalagmites on the floor here, using those unicorn horns in that gunmetal gray, or is it dark bluish gray? It's gunmetal gray. Anyway, I gotta try and be specific. But you also have a little skeleton that is tucked in here. He's actually attached to a plate with a little bar that is clipped into place here, just so he's in that right spot. He could actually swing out if you so choose. You want him that way. And there's also some little teeth or claws, depending whatever you want to call them here. And what they are here for is, well, it's another spot that Indiana Jones has to get through, right? All these traps, all these booby traps and stuff. Doesn't really, play out into anything here, but still it's fun. Now, the only ugly thing that you see here is you see the giant toothed Technic gear mechanism piece that they use to get this ball to roll, which, in the grand scheme of things, is it the biggest, is it the biggest pain in the butt? No, but hey. Let's spin this puppy around to the back, because this is where all the action happens. The knob up front is connected to a series of Technic pieces and gears and stuff like that. When you turn this thing to the right, as if you are sitting in front of it, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, this takes the entire ball up to a position and it locks out. What happens is the two Technic sections, there's a black one and a light bluish gray. What happens is, as you're rolling this thing up, it expands and it eventually opens enough and kind of collapses upon itself so that it locks this ball into place. So you don't have to worry about doing anything with it, which is really ingenious. I love the way this is done. Super intelligent idea. That's why I don't work for Lego. So when you're ready for that, you can let the ball loose. So I'm going to give you a little snippet of what that's going to sound like. It's not going to come out the best, but it's super important, isn't it? I don't think that came out all that well, but you get the idea here. So that is that section. You connect them, you add a couple bricks to lock everything into place. Everything is pretty much Technic pinned and hinged into position so that you have, an acute angle for each of these, where they connect at those points. Moving on to the center section. The center section here, same thing in the front. We have dual knobs though, because we have two different functions here. Instead of having that newly printed, designed 2x3 tile, we actually have we have a 2x4 and a 2x6 tile. One says Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then the other one has some quotes. Let us hurry. There's nothing to fear here. And that's what scares me, is what they're saying. Obviously in the film, these are not prints. They are stickers. I know it could have been so perfect, but it just wasn't meant to be. Oh God, it's so sad. So no spiders in this section, fortunately, but you do have this little wide open area here. You've got your little tar pit or whatever you want to have that is made up of big black tiles that are on here on the bottom. You do have an area where you have to traverse that section, and we'll talk about that action function in a little bit. Starting on the left in the very front, though, this is where you start seeing a lot of, faces built into the stones, like they were carved and stuff like that. This is where you start seeing a lot of that brick built, faces and such. They use a lot of unique ways of getting these for the most part. A lot of hitch pieces and hinge pieces and, bricks that don't really, you wouldn't typically, kind of look at and say, oh yeah, I totally can, figure this, that absolutely makes sense. Sometimes you look at it and you're like, what the hell did they do? Anyway, So the very section here, we have a burp piece that is in here, but it's a smaller one. It's a small burp. And just above that, you have one of your very first faces that are carved in here. You have some teeth on it. They use some Technic bricks here to get the eyes and a jumper tile for the what is supposed to be the nose. A lot of greenery here, some ferns and stuff hanging down, some of that stringy stuff that you would see, that mossy type stringy stuff. A bunch of different colored plants, different designs of plants, different leaves, all kinds of good stuff in here. As we move slightly towards the rear, we have another one of those faces. It is elevated above the other section. It's actually one of the taller points. Well, it's the tallest on this section. And you have, this time, instead of it being a sandish tan color, you have a light bluish gray face. And it's actually really neat in the way that it is done. They use a cornice piece on each side for, I guess, where like the ears are supposed to be, and what looks like is supposed to be some kind of ornamentation hanging from the ears. They use some just rounded plates for 1x1 plates for the eyes. But here's the thing that blew my mind. They used a textured brick, 1x2. And if you've ever seen these things, it's not like the stacking little bricks print or detailing. It has two little kind of half smooth, what do you want to call them? It almost looks like a butt crack, right? It's rounded on the two sides, and it's got this indentation down the center on both sides of this brick, on the one side and then on the other. It looks like a butt crack. That is the best way that I can explain it. We all have a butt crack, right? I would hope so. If you don't, I'd love to hear from you. Anyway, butt cracks aside, that is what you have there. Now, as we move further towards the right, we've got some trees and some roots that are growing down. We got some vinage that is growing out and stuff like that. Your brick-built tree isn't really a brick-built tree. You've got some roots that are sticking across, that are traversing across from the rear to the front of the build. A big fattle root that is actually sticking out the front of the build. And then you have another one that goes down into the tarry type area. And then we have this little vine that is here to be, it's not even a vine. I wouldn't even call it a vine. But we've got this little piece here that is it's just a bar. It is a really long bar to be able to be used here for its movement function, which we'll get to. However, on the very back wall of this, they get some texturing with some 2x3 tiles and some 2x2s and some 1x2s and some 1x3s. And it really it's offset from the bricks themselves, like that flat wall. So you get a different color against the light bluish gray. You get some teal across the top, but you get a different color palette, a different feel. And some of them are recessed differently. Some of them are just, straight on the edge of that wall. And then there's actually some that are slightly recessed. And I like that. That works for me. I am okay with different textures, different sizes, different colors, different feel for the entire thing. So let's talk about the function here. Well, we'll get to it in a moment. But what we do have here, moving further to the right, we do have a long sticker across the top for a long tile. And we have some more of those textured bricks, not the butt crack bricks. And then we've got some more tiling using the sand green and the teal color like we had seen with the other one. But they are the bigger triangular tiles, which if you have two of them, it amounts to a 2x2 tile. So we do have those that are just above this little golden wheel that we get here. And it's supposed to be outlined in like a wood design here. They use some flagpoles for that and some bars. I like the way that is done. And then you just have some, little steps, not even steps, like they're just 1x1 tiles in that olive green. And, it's almost just like a stepping stone path. You know what I mean? Just little spots or leaves or whatever, just to break it up a little bit. So that is the layout. Now you have two different handles here, You have two different mechanisms in the front to use. Now the one to the right, where that bar is, all that is simply doing is that is giving you the opportunity to move Indiana Jones from one side of the build to the other. clip on his hand, and boom, over there he goes. Now, on the other side, as we move further towards the left, we made it across the tar. There is a big old sticker here on this piece. Now, this piece is hidden by that very first carved face that we talked about here. So what we have here is a sticker of some kind of, guy, some ancient civilization guy that's just hanging out here. Now, what is going on with this is it is attached to some Technic pieces and a mechanism as well that runs underneath that entire build. What you have is, if you set it and it holds itself in place by friction. When Indiana Jones comes across, this thing is meant to drop. It's supposed to be a stone wall. It's supposed to be another, trap or whatever. And this is kind of what it sounds like. It's like a guillotine. It comes right down, a big old chop. It's going to take you out, dude. Anyway, so that's how that kind of section works. We move forward, move to the right, and we move to the last section, which is aesthetically, it is my favorite section. There's just something about this area where I get lost in looking at it. And when you're building it, you may not go through all the phases of like, oh my God, I'm so in love with this. But taking a step back after you've built it and just kind of appreciating all the little nuances and intricacies that went into the build really makes you appreciate it a lot more. So again, let's start from the left here. We have those special printed tiles in front, the 2x3s here, and we only have one little mechanism, and we'll talk about that because it is the coolest mechanism. It even beats the boulder mechanism. However, in the very front, we've got some more tiling that is going on with the triangular tiles, but we have 1x1 square tiles in a nougat and a brown color, and I love it. They're just kind of put around, I don't want to say in random spots, but they're just put around this entire tiered section. There's 3 tiers. You have your bottom, then you have your step up, which is your middle, and then you have your very top step, where you get to the golden idol, which we'll talk about here in a moment. So I like how they are used here, and they are angled so it looks like a diamond. So that I like that. We're not just regular square here. We're doing things on an angle, baby. We are different. Of course we are. Anyway, moving forward. As we get deeper into the build, you get to that back wall. You get some more faces here. They use some 1x1 bricks, some more plates, some jumpers. They use a hitch, a ball hitch, which is ingenious in the way that was done. I was like, what the hell are they doing here? But I love it. I don't know, but I love it. So you have a bunch of different faces here, built a whole bunch of different ways. None of them are built the same, by the way. They are all different builds in their own right. You also have some tiles that go that are vertical that have that same sticker as the last section that we talked about that goes across the top. These are placed in a vertical position this time. And then we also get 2x2 tiles in a sandish color here, and they just have a bunch of stickers on there of different faces, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. I think that is fine. It just, again, it adds different texture, different feel, different design. And there's one of them here. There's one of them here on the far left side, on the upper side. I think that is one of the mask pieces we got, I believe, with like Island Adventures or something like that. It was some tribe piece, and I haven't been able to go back and find it. I spent probably an hour, and I can't remember what year it is, and I can't remember what it was called. I don't think it was Adventurers, unless it was later in Adventurers. I don't think it was Johnny Thunder either. Anyway, I'm sure somebody will find it, or I'll just continue searching for another hour or 2 hours and I'll find it. So anyway, that covers basically your bottom section of the wall. There is a top section. So once we get above the triangular tiles here, you have this big old face. This is a brick built face. It has some standard teeth / claw pieces that are used here. But my favorite thing about this is how the eyes are done. The eyes are actually clips, white clips. They stand out so brilliantly against the dark tan color and the nougat color and the regular sand color and some of the teal and sand green here, it just pops. And it looks like it's kind of like half closed eyes. It reminds me of like Olmec from Legends of the Hidden Temple to a certain degree. There's a throwback for any of you that get that one. Anyway, so I really like the way this is done. Now, this thing is not locked into position, and there's good reason for it. We'll get to it in a moment. But moving upward, we kind of get into what we have is like a big kind of Technic build. We've got some Technic pieces that are up here, and they do their best to just kind of hide it to a certain degree. There's no way of hiding it, but it is okay. It is well done. They do have 2 more faces here on the 2x2 tiles, stickers again, and then you got some greenery pieces to be able to use here, to cover, keep up with the ambiance and stuff like that is going on. So we talked about the golden idol. The golden idol actually sits here and can actually rotate 360 degrees. The idol is gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. I don't have a single complaint about this thing at all. I think it's super cool looking. In that gold color. Now on the back end here, we have a bunch of Technic mechanism, a bunch. We've got a rubber band back here. We've got chains back here. We've got brown like branch pieces that are holding chains together. We've got long extension pieces that are connecting ball joint to ball joint. We've got rubber joints back here. There's just a lot going on back here. And in the process of building it, I didn't look at it and I was like, oh my God, that is so difficult to build. But you really don't understand what you're doing until it's done. And then the entire mechanism and the entire design of this feature makes brilliant sense to you. And you're like, God, I wish I could do that. I'm sure some of you can. I'm sure a lot of you can. However, so the way this works, you turn the knob in the front and it does 2 things. It actually does 3 things. So it turns on a light brick, which cascades down from that very top piece where I said they were trying to hide stuff. The light brick is facing at a downward angle. So when you first, it doesn't take much. You turn it a little bit, turns the light on. It hits and illuminates the golden idol, which looks great because it's an orange light. As you do that further, what ultimately happens is the golden idol drops into its little base of where it's at. And as you turn this thing just ever so slightly further, it knocks out this little face, which is attached via chain, and it's just hanging there. And it's beautiful in the way that it's done. I love it. It's one of my favorite little features of this set. I don't know what else to say about it. It's just really sharp in the way that it is done. I really appreciate how the Lego design team went about this to be able to get this in there. So it is a 3-fold design here. And this little mechanism does all 3 things. You turn it back, it pulls your idol back up, it illuminates the light and stuff like that. It's just a really neat idea to it. So as I said, it's a 3-step function. We'll do it one more time. You turn it, light comes on, the little guy drops, and here comes your face, and he just falls out. Real simple. I say it's real simple. I couldn't do this to save my life, but it's brilliant in the way that it is done. I love every single part of it. And this was a very fun part of the build. Just kind of seeing how everything works. I don't want to reverse engineer it whatsoever. I don't really care to do that. However, I did have a lot of fun building that part of it just to be able to see, because when you're building the face and stuff and it says, oh, you got to attach a chain here. I'm like, well, what are we doing? Why am I doing this? Okay. I get how the head pops up and down, I see, okay, the light brick, whatever. And then you're like, oh my God, the face falls forward, but it doesn't actually fall out. It's incredible. I love it. Oh my God, I love it. It's so cool. So let's talk about the set as a whole. There's a lot here. We have 4 different function areas. We have that ball, which is incredibly well done. The boulder, not the ball. The spot where he can jump across the tarry little area. Well, I guess it isn't really tar. I haven't seen this movie. This one. But he's jumping across we'll just say the crevasse or the crevice, however you prefer to say it. And then you have the little wall that is collapsing like a guillotine. You get a golden idol, which is really cool in its own right. I mean, everybody needs a golden idol. You know, I'm going to have my minifig carried around now like, look what I got. Because it can fit on a minifig hand. It's just a stud attachment. And then you have the really cool the function of the light, the golden idol sinking, and then the big head coming out. Really, really cool stuff. Nice design, aesthetically pleasing, fun to play with, great set to sit out. My only con is I hate seeing the toothed gear piece for the boulder. Nothing I can do about that. Absolutely nothing I can do about that. Not the end of the world. One of the other things I was not a big fan of is the top of the one tree, the only tree. You've really got this ugly dark brown that is sticking out up there. I'm sure there's a way you stick a plant piece in it or something like that just to, alleviate that ugly color, the contrast right there. I'm not a big fan of that. However, really cool set. Is it worth $150? You get the exclusive head print for Indiana Jones. You get the other 3 exclusive minifigs, which most of these are exclusive. Let's be honest. You only get Indiana Jones, and even he is not the same in every single set. So you do get all that. I don't like the price. I wish it were cheaper. And it's not to say that it's not worth the $150, that it's not worth, because it's, over 1,500 pieces. I just, something's missing. You get the play features. I know you get a really cool aesthetic design. I feel, $15 less. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of big stuff here. Like big pieces. You have the small burp and you have some Technic pieces. That's about it that, make up everything. For the most part, everything else is bricks and plates and, nothing real big. You got some slopes and stuff. You got some inverted slopes, but nothing really wild and crazy here. A lot of stickers, yes, but you need stickers for something like this. You can only have so many prints. I just wish it were cheaper. I don't think it's a bad set. I like I told you, the big area up top of where the golden idol is, where they're hiding the light up there. Not my favorite thing, seeing all those Technic open holes and stuff like that. Not my favorite thing to see, but I'll get over it. You'll get over it if that's even a bother to you. Now, one thing that I did not mention, and I saved it for the end, is this. Around the entire bottom across the front of this thing, it's meant to look like a diorama set. It's something you put out. It's not like a Lego City set where you have the edge of your plates. It's tiled at the edges. It has some nice accent decor to it. It looks polished. Now, this is the same idea as what they have done with some of the Star Wars dioramas, what they did with the T-Rex Breakout, the Jurassic Park one that Tom and I did, and we had the interview with Atticus. Same idea. I am okay with doing more things like that. You get a really cool set build, you get a really cool piece to sit out, but this you get play function. You can't go wrong there. So really it just comes down to how big of a fan are you? Are you going to wait? Or are you not going to wait? Now, I do know this thing went live. It was not sold out. It sold really fast. It went on back order. Back orders were going, I think it said April 20th. I was just watching it to see. And then after that, later in that evening, it was sold out. Like it was gone. And now you just have to wait. It doesn't mean it's going to be sold out forever. That is not what it means. There will be many more coming for the next year. Guaranteed. At least through the end of the year, without a doubt. So if you look at the price of the Wave, we have a $35 set, we have a $40 set, and then we have a $150 set. Not that bad. Not that bad at all, considering how much a Wave usually runs price. But again, we only have the 3 sets. The other one was supposed to be slated at $100 at that point. Yeah, we're kind of getting closer to $350, $400 range for everything. So my thoughts are those. Those are my thoughts. And I think it's a fun set. Some things I would like to touch up, adjust a little bit. Price being, a little, not horrible. it's not the end of the world. It's not something that is egregiously priced, Now, if this were $170, I'd lose my mind. Somebody would be getting punched in the mouth. No, I'm just kidding. But I wouldn't have been happy there at that price point at all. They probably could have set it that high and it would have done gangbusters, because let's be honest, the people that are hardcore Indiana Jones fans are going to buy it anyway. Even if you're not hardcore, if you're above lukewarm, you're still going to buy it. Plus, this box is really cool. It is my favorite box of all of them. I don't save boxes. I am saving this box. I don't ever save boxes. So that's going to wrap up the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope if you have gotten one, you have enjoyed it, or you're going to enjoy it. Or if you haven't gotten one yet due to it being sold out, or you haven't bought it yet, hopefully at some point in time you will. This is a nice set. I don't think it is my favorite still to this point. I like the plane and the car best based on value. And I just, I like other things that I can do. I got 2 things that I can do there. This is not bad, but alas, we are here. So that's it. Until we meet again, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it.